The Disrespectful Heist. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns hid the fractures of perfect lives, Elena and Marcus lived in a house that screamed success. Marcus was the kind of man who turned heads without trying, tall, with chiseled features that softened only when he smiled at her, his dark hair always just tousled enough to invite a touch. He was an architect, building dreams for others while pouring his soul into their home, the one he'd designed with Elena in mind. Open spaces for her laughter, a sunlit kitchen where he'd cook her favorite meals after long days. But Elena had grown restless. The spark that once lit her eyes had dimmed into resentment, and she wielded words like daggers, slicing at the man who adored her. Always so damn controlling, she'd snap over dinner, rolling her eyes when he'd suggest a quiet night in. God, Marcus, loosen up, not everything has to be about us. She'd flirt with the barista at their local coffee shop, laughing too loudly at his jokes, then come home and accuse Marcus of being boring for wanting fidelity. He took it night after night, his broad shoulders sagging under the weight of her barbs, because he loved her, fiercely, loyally, the way a man loves the woman he vowed to protect. But love, Elena learned too late, has limits when it's starved of respect. Her closest confidant was Leela, the vivacious redhead from college days, who breezed into their lives like a whirlwind of freedom and wine-fueled confessions. Leela was everything Elena envied, single, unapologetic, with a laugh that filled rooms and a body that commanded attention. They'd bonded over shared dreams of escaping the mundane, but Leela harbored a secret that festered like a hidden wound. From the first time she'd met Marcus, at their wedding, where he'd caught her gaze a beat too long, she'd wanted him. Not just his body but his quiet strength, the way he listened like every word was a gift. Elena was blind to it, too wrapped in her own discontent to see the hunger in Leela's eyes whenever Marcus entered the room. It started innocently enough, over cocktails at Leela's sleek apartment downtown. "You're trapped, babe," Leela purred, swirling her martini as Elena vented about Marcus's stifling devotion. "He's hot, sure, but marriage doesn't have to be a cage. Ever thought about opening things up? Just a little adventure. You deserve to feel alive again." Elena hesitated, the idea slithering into her mind like forbidden fruit. Leela painted pictures of freedom, nights out without guilt, stolen kisses that reignited the fire she'd lost. And Marcus, he'll come around. Men like him secretly crave it, trust me, I've seen it. Elena brought it home that night, words tumbling out over the remnants of Marcus's homemade lasagna. "We're opening the marriage," she declared, not asking but statting it like a verdict. Marcus froze, his fork midway to his mouth, those deep brown eyes searching hers for a crack in the armor she'd built. "Elena, no," he said softly, his voice steady but laced with warning. "This isn't you talking, it's doubt, and doubt destroys. If we go down this road, I won't fight it, but know this, I'll protect myself. I'll gather every piece of evidence you leave behind, because if you betray us like this, I'll walk away clean. No alimony, no shared assets, just gone." His words hung heavy, a prophecy she dismissed with a scoff. "You're bluffing, you love me too much to leave." He didn't argue, he just cleared the plates, his touch lingering on her shoulder like a goodbye she couldn't hear. The open marriage began as Elena's liberation. She dove in head first, late nights at clubs, texts from strangers that made her feel desired again. Marcus retreated into silence, working late, his handsome face etched with quiet sorrow. He didn't stray, loyalty was his anchor even as the ship sank. But Leela was there, a shadow in the wings, her plot unfolding with the precision of a spider spinning silk. It started with support. Leela would drop by under the guise of checking on Elena, but her eyes always drifted to Marcus. "You poor thing," she'd coo when Elena was out, pressing a manicured hand to his arm as he stood in the kitchen, staring at the coffee pot like it held answers. "She doesn't see what she's throwing away. A man like you, strong, kind, gorgeous, you deserve worship, not this." Her words were velvet traps, respectful in a way Elena's had never been. She listened when he spoke of his fears, nodded at his dreams, brought him coffee just how he liked it, black with a hint of cinnamon, without being asked. "You're not alone, Marcus," she'd whisper, her green eyes locking onto his with a possessiveness that felt like home. "I see you, all of you." Elena didn't notice the shift, she was too busy chasing highs that left her hollow. Leela played her part flawlessly, encouraging Elena's escapades with tips on apps and outfits, all while planting seeds of doubt. "He's probably relieved," Leela lied, watching Elena's face crumple just a little. Men need space too. But behind the scenes, Leela was Marcus's confidant, his unexpected solace. When Elena stumbled home at dawn, lipstick smudged and stories spilling out, Leela would text Marcus screenshots, anonymous of course, from Elena's phone, evidence of her nights away. "For your protection," Leela would say, her voice a soothing balm over the phone. "She doesn't deserve you, but I could." Marcus resisted at first, his heart a fortress, but Leela's respect was a siege he couldn't withstand. She didn't demand, she gave. Dinners where she asked about his sketches, praising his genius with a reverence that made his chest ache. Touches that lingered just long enough, her hand on his knee during a movie night Alina skipped, her laughter wrapping around him like a promise. "You're mine to cherish," she'd murmur one evening as they sat on the porch swing Alina had always hated. It wasn't seduction, it was reclamation. And in the quiet hours when loneliness clawed at him, Marcus let her in. Not with his body that he saved for the vows he still honored, but with his heart cracking open under her adoring gaze, the evidence mounted like a storm cloud. Photos from Alina's own posts, voicemails of her giggling with lovers, hotel receipts Leela accidentally found in Alina's purse and slipped to Marcus. He filed the papers on a grey Tuesday morning, 6 months into the open farce Alina had orchestrated. Served at her office, the documents hit like ice water. Adultery, they read, clause after clause citing the prenup she'd signed without reading. The one Marcus had insisted on, a shield he'd built in love, not suspicion. The court date arrived on a rain-lashed afternoon, the kind that blurs the world into misery. Alina sat in the sterile courtroom, her once vibrant curls limp, her designer suit rumpled from sleepless nights. Marcus was across the aisle, handsome as ever in a crisp navy suit. But his eyes, those eyes that had once burned for her, were cool, distant. Beside him sat Leela, not as a friend but as an anchor, her hand on his, her posture radiating the quiet possession of a woman who knew she'd won. The judge called for evidence and Marcus's lawyer, a sharp woman with no patience for tears, laid it out like an autopsy. Photos projected on a screen. Alina tangled in sheets with a faceless man, her laughter frozen in a time-stamped video. Texts explicit and damning. Alina's breath caught, her world tilting. These weren't just betrayals of her vows, they were weapons turned against her by the man she'd mocked. But the final blow came when she saw Leela's face in the metadata logs, subtle but there, forwarded messages, timestamps aligning with girls' nights. Betrayal wasn't just from Marcus, it was from the sister she'd trusted with her soul. "Leela," Alina whispered, her voice breaking as the gavel loomed. Leela met her gaze, not with remorse but with a serene smile, the smile of victory. "You pushed him away, Alina, I just caught him." Marcus didn't look at her, his jaw set, but in that moment Alina saw it all. The late-night calls, the innocent visits, the way Leela had mirrored his needs while Alina had trampled them. The prenup held ironclad. Marcus walked away with everything, the house, the savings, his dignity intact. Alina left with a suitcase and a settlement that mocked her loss. Nothing. 3 years crawled by like thorns under skin. Alina bounced from apartment to cramped apartment, her reflection a ghost of the woman she'd been. Dates fizzled into awkward silences. No one looked at her the way Marcus once had. She stalked their social media in the dead of night, each post a fresh wound. There they were, Marcus and Leela, married in a sun-drenched ceremony on the cliffs of Big Sur, her white gown clinging like a claim. Twin boys arrived a year later, identical cherubs with Marcus's dark curls and Leela's green eyes, named Theo and Elias after architects and poets he loved. The photos haunted her. Leela cradling the Barbies against Marcus's chest, her lips brushing his temple in a kiss that spoke of forever. Family outings to the park where Leela's hand rested possessively on his lower back, gidding him with a deference Alina had never offered. "My rock," Leela captioned one, a candid of Marcus laughing as the boys toddled at his feet. "The man who deserves every ounce of my respect and more." Comments flooded in, goals, "She's glowing, he looks so happy." And he did, radiant, unburdened, his handsome face softened by fatherhood and the woman who treated him like a king. Alina sat alone in her dim studio one rainy evening, scrolling through it all, the twins' first birthday photos glowing on her screen. Leela, ever the picture of devotion, had organized a party in the backyard Marcus designed, the one Alina had called pretentious. Balloons in navy and gold, a cake shaped like a tiny blueprint. Marcus held one boy on each hip, his smile wide and genuine, while Leela leaned into him, whispering something that made him chuckle. Possessive, yes, her arm looped through his like she owned the very air he breathed, but laced with a respect that bordered on worship. "To the husband I stole from disrespect," Leela had joked in a private toast Alina imagined, but the truth strung deeper. She'd earned him piece by respectful piece while Alina had squandered him. In the quiet that followed, Alina curled into herself, sobs racking her frame. The nightmare wasn't the divorce or the empty bed or the friends who'd faded away. It was the realization, bone deep and unrelenting, she'd handed her life to the one person who'd always wanted it more. And in the mirror of their happiness she saw only her own ruin, a woman who'd disrespected the love of her life only to watch it bloom for another. The rain tapped against the window like accusatory fingers, and for the first time Alina whispered the truth she'd buried. "What have I done?" But the wind carried it away, unanswered, into the endless night.